Mark Abram's here. We have a very special show we're going to have for you on the eve of UFC 262. I'm joined by next to me in the Nike swoosh. That's the 8-ball. We got the Philly Godfather. We'll have the college kids on sometime once he gets all settled there. And we have a very special guest. We have the former UFC champion all over the world, who's going to, talk about his career, maybe talk a little UFC 262, Philadelphia's own Eddie Alvarez. What's happening, guys?
What is up, fellas?
We'll kick it over this weekend, Eddie. But before we start talking about the UFC fights, you started fighting 18 years ago. I looked at your record. You fought everyone: McGregor, Poirier, Chandler. You fought the toughest guys in the world. At your height, we're basically the same height, and 170 pounds. How difficult was it fighting the taller fighters in the UFC? Did that make a big difference for you? Or, what was the hardest thing about fighting these guys in the UFC?
So I started my career at welterweight at 170, but then I switched to 55, seeing very quickly that I was at a reach disadvantage, big time. So when I went to 55, I finally got to close the gap on that reach advantage a little bit. By the time I got in UFC, I was fighting 155. I still wasn't the largest guy, but definitely was able to close the distance on that length that was kind of troubling me. I always had a little bit of difficulty with the taller guys, but I think against them taller guys, the idea of feigning a lot, you got to feign a lot and draw their punches out of them, and you can't be afraid to move inside and be in the pocket. That being tentative and staying on the outside you take a lot of damage doing that. So you got to go in there with a good mentality, a good FU mentality, where you keep your shoulders forward, you move into them, and you believe in your power, believe in your defense. And the more I did that, the more success I had inside the cage.
Yeah. Now when in boxing, I know we trained some fighters, and I used to box a little bit. And you're always looking, when you're breaking down your opponent, you're looking at tells, whether he drops his hand after he throws a jab, whether he's a sucker for hooks. Any kind of advantage you can pick off watching film. Now, what's the difference between the boxing and the UFC? Is UFC more spontaneous, more on the fly when you're in there? Because I know you've done a lot of boxing as well.
So the thing about UFC that's different from boxing is that there's 5 different arts in one. So to make a full fight, boxing is just one piece of the puzzle. And a lot of guys in MMA, they need to focus on being well-rounded and not have a deep, deep hole or deep, deep disadvantage in one realm, because it'll get exploited by a guy like me who's been around for 2 decades. So it's very difficult to become an expert at one thing, where a boxer can just concentrate on his art, concentrate on his boxing and that one art. You can become an expert in, become excellent. Well, an MMA fighter, very few of them are excellent at one thing. They're just very good at all 5 things, which is, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, the boxing, BJJ, and Muay Thai. But boxing is just one part of what we do. It's a piece of a fight. It's not to me, I get angry when they say you got beaten in a fight. I know I got beaten in boxing. I didn't get beaten in a fight. I'm from I know what a fight is, and boxing is a part of a fight. It's not a whole fight.
Right. Now, that's a great segue to the next question. Out of all the guys you fought, who do you think was the most well-rounded fighter, and who was the toughest guy you fought?
Well-rounded was when I fought for the titles was RDA. He had everything. At the time that I fought RDA, he was ripping through everyone, and he had all the tools. He was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He had phenomenal wrestling, great Muay Thai, great striking, good boxing. Going into that fight, I couldn't make an argument of how I was going to beat him, because he was better than me in everything. But I knew I would beat him. So I think he was the most well-rounded guy I ever fought, and at the time was murdering everyone. Toughest, I think Justin Gaethje was a guy that I fought maybe about 3 years back that took a serious amount of damage. I think I threw about 300 punches, landed at a 60% clip or 70% clip, and he just kept coming at me. So Justin is definitely up there in the top realm of being the toughest.
Okay. Now, you've been fighting since 2003, and you've basically fought everybody. I mean, you're like the Arturo Gatti of MMA. I mean, you never said no to nobody. What's on the horizon for Eddie Alvarez? What's next? You still plan on fighting? What's going on with you?
Yeah, so I just recently fought twice in April in Singapore. And had, in the beginning, I fought the guy who was number two in the division. I beat him. In my eyes, I beat him in 30 seconds. They gave me I got a BS call.
I saw that was bullshit. It was bullshit. I watched that live.
Yeah, so that was a little disheartening. And then I come back and I win another fight, and they call it a loss. So, for me, it's just about going in there. If I can get back there in fall or winter and challenge another one of the top guys there, I don't think it's long before they give me a title shot. I think I just got to beat one of the top guys handily, make sure I finish them so it doesn't go to a judge. And as long as that happens, I think I get a title shot pretty quickly.
You plan on fighting anytime soon back in the U.S., Eddie? Or
I'd love to, man. I've been begging One Championship to come here, but they're Singapore-based, they're Asian-based, and the whole reason for me signing with them was to I achieved the highest marks I could here in the United States. I won all the belts here in the United States, and the idea was to travel outside and win with the last major organization that exists that I don't have their belt on my trophy case. So I won it, and so I have to go there to get it. They're not coming to the United States.
I was going to ask. They're on TNT now, so I figured when I saw that they made the deal with TNT, that would be a gateway into the United States for them. Obviously, you said that's probably not in the cards for the promotion as of yet.
Not the near future because of COVID. The COVID really put a damper in on that. They were on their way here, and COVID really messed that up with the travel restrictions. Even when I go to Singapore, I have to get a green pass as an athlete in order to get into Singapore. Other people aren't allowed there. Most people aren't allowed there. So it would be difficult to have an event here in the States with them. So it was put on the back burner. It's not for the near future, but I still believe in 2022, something like that could happen.
All right, that's great stuff. Now, when you're over there, Eddie, in Singapore, how long do you stay in there? Do you train there for months? I mean, how difficult is it to go back and forth because it's such a far distance?
Yeah, so I've done that my whole career, like fought overseas, Russia, Costa Rica, Canada, Japan. So I've gotten myself used to it. It's not foreign to me to be able to take a flight on 3 days, deal with the jet lag and everything like that. So I've done it in the past. When I have a saying, like, when you're ready, you're ready. And if you're ready up here, you can go through anything, man. You can put yourself through anything. If you're ready in your mind to win, you'll go out there and your body will react correctly. But it's difficult. More than anything, the protocol in Singapore was very stringent. We had to stay in our rooms the whole time. We got 1 hour to train in the morning, and we got another hour to train at night. Other than that, you just stay in your room the whole time.
Wow.
So one thing that was difficult for me was I usually get to distract myself during the fight week. And I was alone with my thoughts in a room. And for me to be alone with my thoughts is it's a scary place to be sometimes.
I have a question. Just moving back to the UFC days, even though the result wasn't what you had to be, would you say the highlight of your career was facing the biggest name in the sport in the most storied venue in fighting history, Madison Square Garden? I mean, like I said, even though the result wasn't what you wanted to be, when you take a step back did you say, hey, you know what, that's a pretty cool achievement?
It was awesome to get there, and I learned a ton from the experience. I traveled all over, and you would hope that the timing adds up properly to where when you get to that highest stage and you get in front of the most fans and you spend over a decade or a decade and a half on your sport, you hope the timing would add up, that you go out there and just crush it and perform at your highest level. Unfortunately for me, that particular small point in time, that 8 minutes of time, it wasn't my night. And when I look at that 8 minutes over 2 decades of a lot of great experiences, a lot of great performances, I try to make sense of kind of what happened that night, like what went on. And the only realization I came up with was like, I fist fight for a living. This is I'm in a really volatile place where there's real small margin for error, and you can't be perfect all the time. So it was a different pill to swallow as an athlete and as more than anything a competitor, how competitive I am. But it was humbling, and I definitely moved forward stronger as an athlete and even as a person. Because hell, it's one thing to go out there and crush it and win a world title and be a warrior and be the hero on a major stage. That's a great experience, but also maybe I needed to experience embarrassment on a major stage in front of millions of people, and I needed to learn that for myself and feel it and see what went on. I don't know why, but it happened that night, and I got bigger and stronger from it.
Well, you have nothing to be embarrassed about. You know, you fought your Philadelphia heart out that night, and there were a lot of people I know in this city that were behind you and still are behind you. But the way I think about it, you're a kid from Philadelphia. For a week or a couple of weeks, the whole sports world was focused on you and Connor. I guess that's the point I was trying to get at. That must be a pretty cool feeling where you were. I'm sure there are other sports in the world going on that Saturday night, but the biggest names that night were Eddie Alvarez and Conor McGregor. So I was saying that must have been pretty cool, though.
Oh no, the lead up and everything like that was, I mean, it was definitely something special to be a part of. Just to see, the fans, everything like that. Just there's a lot of people who believe in me, who supported me like all the way through my career, win or lose. They've been there. So like, you really want to go out there and you feel obligated and you feel like, hey, I owe these people something. They follow me, they supported me. And I understand, in retrospect, like, hey, you can't always be perfect, but you want to go out there and you want to give back to the people who give to you. And so the only thing I could do was scrape myself back up off the floor and go after another world title. And that's what I did. I got myself back up to the floor. I fought Justin Gaethje for the most violent man in the world, and I ended up knocking him out in the third round, a war that'll live on forever.
I got one more question. I want to turn over to 8-Ball and College Kid. There's been rumors lately about you maybe mixing up with some golden boy boxer by the name of Oscar De La Hoya. Can you confirm, deny? Has there been talks? Is it rumor? Is it fabrication, or what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I had a bunch of people were going back and forth who were in between Oscar and his camp, and there were some people involved that I knew, and I just wanted to kind of get down to it. Like, are these rumors? Are these true? Because I got reached out to about 2 or 3 times about it, and so I just reached out to Oscar directly on Instagram, and I said, hey man, love to fight you, and see if if everything's true. Just let me know. Don't waste my time or don't waste my management's time. I said I have a fight coming up in about a month, so let me know if they're able to make that happen. And he said he basically told me that he said no. I feel like they're looking for a larger name. I don't know if they're looking for a guy like me. So.
Let me just segue into one thing. Would you ever consider Bare Knuckle Boxing, because we just are now joined by the president of Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships, David Feldman. So, hey, would you ever consider that?
What's up, Dave?
Funny, I just caught the tail end.
I love Feldman.
Caught the tail
Look,
end.
I'm a fan of bare knuckle boxing. I love to watch it. Me and Dave would have to do some talking. There'd have to be some, we'd have to come to a serious agreement. That'd be a tough road to go down. But hey, I started my career street fighting, and be lovely to maybe end it with one. Who knows?
Eddie, I know your time is limited, but before we let you go, big UFC card. I know you fought Michael Chandler a couple of times. Tough kid. He's fighting. He's basically a plus 110 dog in that fight. Who do you like in that fight against Livieri?
So the matchup for me, when you look at the matchup overall, you see a guy. I mean, Oliveira is massive. He's giant inside that cage. And he used to be really skinny and bony. Now he's starting to have some thickness to him as well. So I feel like Oliveira is gonna use his jab and leg kicks. Mike's not gonna grapple. Nobody's gonna want to tie up with that guy. The guy's a cobra, and he can submit anyone. So he's gonna use jabs and leg kicks. It's gonna be up to Mike to get inside and kind of put him away. I feel like the intangibles are going to come in play, where it's more the desire of the athlete and the desire of Mike Chandler that's going to win him the fight. It's really difficult for me to see him letting this opportunity slip through his hands. He literally fought one fight and was given a world title fight in the UFC.
Yeah, that was I
just can't see him dropping the ball there.
Yeah, I just got done watching the press conference, and that was kind of a bunch of the questions. Do you think he got this opportunity too soon?
So I believe what happened was when he entered, he lost. Well, no, I think
he beat lost. Hooker. He beat Hooker in his one fight.
He beat Hooker. But in the previous organization, he lost to a 145-pounder, who bumped up to 55 to fight him for his title. So he lost that, and he was on basically a 2-fight win streak, one in Bellator and one in UFC, and then he was given a world title fight. But in the UFC, like, timing's everything. Khabib's out. Justin Gaethje only has one fight left on his contract, so he's negotiating. Connor's fighting Poirier. There's basically no one to fight for this vacant title. So he got the title shot by essentially forfeit. Everyone else forfeited. So hats off to him. Now he gets an opportunity in a short time to win the UFC world title. So it's just really hard for me not to see him letting this slip through his hands. The guy's a competitor. He's dangerous, and he's one of the toughest guys that I've ever went up against in the cage. Like, if this comes down to a fight where where they get into third, fourth, and fifth round, it's Mike Chandler's fight to be won. I think Charles has to do damage with that jab and leg kicks early and get it done by round 3. Or otherwise, if he gets into a dogfight with a guy like Mike, Mike Chandler doesn't lose that fight.
College kid,
thanks for coming on. I know your time's real valuable. I don't want to hold you up. We've got a lot of great champions in the city of Philadelphia, but you're one of the most beloved ones. So thanks for coming on, man. Thanks for being a good friend of the show.
Thank you guys for having me, man.
Best of luck.
If you guys are out there follow me on Instagram at E Alvarez Fight. We're doing a card break right now on Official Break Gang. So follow us at Official Break Gang. We're gonna do a UFC Panini card break right now. Go check it out.
There you go. Thanks, Eddie. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep.
It's Eddie Alvarez. Now we turn our attention to a little bare knuckle boxing, where I got the president of the bare knuckle fighting championships, David Feldman. What's up, Dave?
What's going on, Mark? How are you?
What's going on? The 8-Ball and College Kid, why don't you start us off? Do you have any questions for Dave?
Well, I've seen Dave talk to Dave a couple of times. Great guy. And Bare Knuckles has been awesome. I've watched it the other day. I was watching it. I think maybe it was a rerun. It was up. It was on my Samsung TV, and I was watching a little bit, and it's pretty exciting.
It's come a long way from the beginning. I mean, Dave, you've been through so much trying to get to the forefront, and now it's exploded like never before. And I know there's a lot of big things planned. Tell us some of the plans that you guys got. What's coming? What's new? What's hot?
Yeah, man, we're just working on a lot of big signings, both from boxing and from mixed martial arts. Some big partnership deals coming up with some sports betting sites. Just a lot of really exciting things. Some celebrities are getting involved as partners of the organization, and a TV network deal is looming. Hopefully, that closes up in the next 2 to 3 weeks, where they're also going to be, excuse me, also going to be doing a unscripted show on Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship as well. So, a lot of really exciting. We're just happy to be where we are. I mean, Mark, I've known you for a long time, and you've done some PR for me in the past, and I've been talking about this thing for 10 years, man. It took me a long time to get here, but we're here and we're making the most of it now.
How are you doing now? Because, like you said, from the beginning, where you're, basically on your hands and knees, begging for some states. How are you now getting along with some of these other commissions? Especially some of the bigger ones right now.
We're doing good. We actually have some really good talks with, 2 of the, or 3 of the 4 or 5 biggest states out there that, or most prominent states in combat sports right now. Looks like by the end of 21, we should be completely sanctioned, regulated in about 22 to 23, and maybe 30 to 35 by the end of 2022. So that's kind of fallen like dominoes. I think it's just of the professionalism of the show that we're putting on, and the fact that these injury reports are coming out by the president of the Association of Boxing Commissioners, and of ringside physicians, and stating that we have less head trauma, less facial fractures, less hand breaks. The only thing we have more of is lacerations than boxing or mixed martial arts collectively.
A little blood never hurt anybody.
Any plans for Vegas, Dave? I mean, Vegas is such the capital for, combat sports, whether it's a big boxing match or whether it's UFC. Are you guys have any plans? Do you know when it's coming to Vegas, or, is there anything going on there?
That's going to just be a little bit down the road. We're working on some states closer to home right now. That's going to be a little bit down the road, only because 2 of the probably 3 or 4 biggest combat sports promoters in the world have headquarters in Las Vegas. So I don't think they want this coming in town right now. But soon it's going to be inevitable. We're putting on great shows. We're getting the attendance. We're getting the viewers. So it's going to be hard to say no to us soon.
You talk about great shows. When's the next big fight, so we can tell everyone to make sure they check it out?
June 26th, we're doing the Hard Rock Casino in Hollywood, Florida. That'll be Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship 18. That'll be live on the Bare Knuckle TV app. That's bkTVapp.com. You can catch all the live pay-per-views on the app, as well as all the content, all the library, the shoulder programming, the interviews, everything about Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship lives on that app. And just download the app and check it out.
Let me ask you this. Obviously, you've had some pretty good names come over with Paulie Malignaggi and Paige Van Zandt, some pretty big names. I'm sure there's other big names who have contacted you, probably under contract, that may not be able to come over just yet. Have there been a lot of those kind of phone calls that, people may be still under contract here or there and maybe can't come over, but they want to come over?
Yeah, absolutely. There's some that are 1 or 2 fights left in their contract, some that we were just negotiating. I figure by the end of 21, we're going to probably have about 6 to 9 pretty big surprises coming over to us. It's we just went through a funding round, which went phenomenal with some really big influential people. So as soon as everything works with that in the next week or 2, and we're able to start acquiring these guys, I think we're going to really make a lot more noise in combat sports than we've already have.
Who's been a guy, maybe the breakout guy for you? Give me 1 or 2 names that we may not have heard of 6 months ago, but in 6 months from now, they're going to be close to household names.
Well, you know what it is? I got a lot of guys that really fight great with the organization. Joe Elmore would be one of them. Bobo O'Bannon, Sam Shoemaker's fighting Joey Beltran. Who Joey Beltran's a guy who nobody really, he doesn't look good. He's not. When I mean he doesn't look good, he's not the most athletic guy in the world. He's not the fastest guy in the world. He doesn't hit hardest, but he always finds a way to win. He just keeps mowing these guys down, and he keeps beating these guys. But we have Sam Shoemaker, who scored a couple great knockouts, and he's a guy we're looking at. We have Louis Palomino. He's our 155-pound champ. He's fighting Tyler Goodjohn from the UK. He's coming over to fight him. We have Hector Lombard is actually fighting Joe Riggs. Two legends in the UFC are fighting each other for the 205-pound championship. And then we have Thiago Alves, who is a longtime UFC contender. He's fighting Yuli Diaz, Yuli Diaz is, I believe he's 14-1 in pro boxing, and he's the world record holder of the fastest combat sports knockout in history, 3 seconds on Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship 13.
8-Ball, college kid, anything from you guys?
I was interested in going to one of these fights because I haven't seen them in person yet. I was wondering if you guys had any fans of going to the fights yet.
Yeah, we have. Right now, it looks like we'll be at about 3,500 people at our next event. These events sell out very, very fast. Then July 23rd, we're hopefully in a new state. We'll know by Monday. If not, we're going to end up in Tampa, Florida at a 12,000-seat arena, and we feel like we'll be able to sell that one out pretty fast as well. People are just getting interested in this thing. It's different, right? It's a whole nother bowl of wax, man. Like, boxing's great, as you guys know, man. I mean, it's been in my blood. I fought. My father trained 7 world champions. It's been around this for a long time. I love boxing, but there's nothing like watching one of these things live. I guarantee, no matter how big of a boxing or mixed martial arts fan you are, if you're open-minded and watch one of these things live, it's over for you. I mean,
well, that's the next question I was going to ask you. I've known you since we were kids. I used to box at your father's gym at 63rd and Market. I think it was like 1978. You had Frank the Animal Fletcher up there, Jimmy Young, Two Gun Fletcher. I mean, and I was such a big boxing fan and boxing purist for years. It was a little harder for me to adapt. And now I love UFC, but when it came to bare knuckles, I fell in love with it instantly. It was the action. It was so much uncertainty. It was just the rawness of it. Is that what you think has elevated bare knuckles? I mean, faster than almost any other combat sport from its inception.
Yeah, I think what's happening now is, boxing is becoming a little more boring. I mean, there's still some great fights out there, as we saw Canelo and Billy Joe Sanders this past weekend, tremendous fight. But I mean, it's just it's 12 3-minute rounds, right? And we're in a society now of ADD all over the place, and people want fast-paced things that just happen real fast. We're 5 2-minute rounds. Our fights are 10 minutes. 10 minutes total. Most of them are about, we average actually about 6 minutes a fight. So, I mean, that fits right into today's society. They want something fast-paced, exciting, super fun to watch, and that's what we give them.
Is the size of the ring smaller, Dave, or is it the same dimensions as a boxing ring?
It's actually a 22-foot ring, so it's actually a little bigger than most.
Billy Joe Saunders would love you then. 22 foot, so he was begging for last week.
He still won't be able to get away from that uppercut.
No corners in the ring because it's a round ring. It makes it seem smaller, and there really is nowhere to hide in there. You can't hide yourself in the corner and bounce off the ropes. You have to fight. So everything was designed for action. They start from toe to line, 2 4-foot lines separated by 2.5 foot from each other. The referee says total line, and then he says knuckle up, and the guys just start banging it out. So it's fast paced, it's exciting. Like I said, it's fun to watch. I think it's the most exciting thing out there right now. Although I still love a good boxing match, I love mixed martial arts, but it's just something different. And when you watch it in person, I still, even to this day, when I hear that sound of the fist hitting the skin of the face, just the sound that a combat sports fan really falls in love with.
The other night,
anything planned for Pennsylvania? I mean, what's the status for Pennsylvania and bare knuckles?
That's all I'll say.
We won't even mention any names. I got you.
Yeah, I'm sure you watched the Canelo fight the other night. While you were sitting there watching, did you shut your eyes for a second? Because I know they showed all those great shots with the 73,000 people there. You shut your eyes for a second, say to yourself, you know what? One day that's us.
Mark, I actually was the one that brought the first Canelo fight to the Hard Rock Stadium. I had an event there, and I established a good relationship to them. And then Sean of Matchroom reached out to me. And why I'm saying this is when I was walking up to that arena and there was only 14,000 people there, the roar of the crowd, I was like, wow, we're back. And now seeing 70,000 people there and just imagining that squared circle in the middle of that crowd, man. Yeah, man, it was unbelievable. I was like, this is going to happen soon. I know it's going to happen. I see it. I mean, it's just a matter of time. It's just, there's nothing really wrong with what we're doing right now. It's just about getting more eyeballs on it now. And, influencers, bigger names, and marketing more is going to do the trick for us.
All right. Anything you want to promote, Dave, before we let you go? I know you're busy, man.
Just download the app, Bare Knuckle TV app at bkfc.com or bktvapp.com. You can get anything you want. It's $3.99 a month to watch 1 to 2 pay-per-view events every month on that app. $3.99. Great content, great action-packed fights. Just check it out. The next one is June 26th, live from right out of Miami, Hollywood, Florida, at the Hard Rock Casino. So check that event out.
You know how I know Dave's doing well? When I first met him, when he was trying to get all this done, all he had was a folder and some papers in a folder. Now he's got an office chair. He looks relaxed. So you know he's hitting the big time now.
Trying to connect the dots right now, but we're getting there. And thank you guys for having me and for all your support, guys.
Thanks,
Dave. I appreciate
next show, brother. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Dave. UFC Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship President Dave Feldman, former UFC champion Eddie Alvarez joining us. I know you guys want to get into some other sports for a few minutes. So Steve, take it away.
Yeah, let me go to 8-ball first. NBA playoffs are coming up. The landscape. I mean, who are the true teams that are going to make some noise in the playoffs? Who are the pretenders? Who do you like to win the whole thing? I mean, it looks a little wide open this year in the East. Who are your teams?
Well, in the Western Conference, I love the LA Clippers. We have a future on them, plus 600. I think with the addition of Rondo and Ibaka in the offseason, I think that's championship experience, goes a long way in the playoffs. You look at a team like the Denver Nuggets without Jamal Murray. You saw what he meant to them last year. Without him, I don't think they can make a deep run. And then you look at the defending champions, the Lakers. They've been battling injuries all year long. They haven't gotten the chemistry. And I don't know if they can flip that switch. So right now, the two teams in the West I'm looking at, I think, they're playing the best brands of basketball, are the LA Clippers and, surprisingly, the Phoenix Suns. I know Matt has a future on them as well.
Yeah, Matt from TCK, from the college kids. Tell us a little bit about this future you got and who you like to win it all.
Well, we have 3 futures. First of which was the Phoenix Suns at 20-1 to win their division, the Pacific Division. Right now, they're leading their division by 2 games to the Clippers, 8-ball's Clippers, and I'm rooting them in strong. We have a late stretch of 3 games, and if they tie, the Clippers actually take that tiebreaker. So I need the Suns, but we also have the Suns 22-1 to win the West and 49-1 to win the championship. We really thought this team was super undervalued. We look at Chris Paul and really saw how he plays, okay, what he did with Oklahoma City. He took Oklahoma City from being what was thought to be they thought they were going to be a nobody. He took them to the playoffs and fought. And now he's with the Suns. This Suns team didn't make the playoffs last year. And then he took them, and now they're the 2 seed. Every play, Chris Paul puts you in position to win the game. Okay?
Not to interrupt you, I think he's the MVP of the league. If it's not Embiid, that's my opinion. That's a downtrodden organization for 10 years, and look what he's done for them.
Exactly, it's been horrible for years, and Chris Paul comes in, and all of a sudden they're super successful. It's not a coincidence. It's not an accident. This guy's the real deal, and yeah, he really means that much for his team. He might just be the most valuable player for his team, but I don't think he'll get the award. I think he either goes to Embiid or Jokic. Right. However, this Suns team is going to be dangerous. We're looking at the way it's all playing out. LeBron and AD, they were hurt, decimated with injuries, and now they're a 7 seed. Okay, LeBron, he's hurt going into the playoffs. Then we have Donovan Mitchell, Utah Jazz. He's hurt going into the playoffs. The Clippers, they're fairly healthy, but they have Ibaka hurt going into the playoffs. And then we have the Nuggets. The Nuggets, Jamal Murray's out for the season. So all these teams are dealing with injuries, and it seems like the only healthy team are the Phoenix Suns. So I like our chances. I think we have a great shot, and I think this might be the first year Chris Paul goes to the NBA championship.
Matt, before I take it to 8-ball, in the East, Brooklyn's the favorite. I mean, they're favorite to win the whole thing. They got all the guns, the sharpshooters on that team. Defensively, not so much. Do you think it's Brooklyn, or do you think the Sixers can surprise some people, or maybe even the Bucks?
I mean, the Bucks, it's going to be hard for the Bucks, in my opinion. They always fail when it comes to playoff time. They're always regular season giants. They come in, they steamroll through everyone, and then in the playoffs, it seems like Giannis and the way he plays, it just doesn't match up. Now, the Brooklyn Nets, they're the most talented team, obviously, in the East. They have all the stars. They have Harden, Kyrie, they have Durant, MVPs. These players are phenomenal, all-time players. But the problem is they don't play defense. And that's what you need in the playoffs. You need to be able to play defense. You need to be able to rebound. You got to play physical. The game becomes very intense. Every possession is heightened. Whereas in the regular season, teams are just strolling, going by. It's an 82-game season usually, and they're usually just strolling by. But the playoffs, it's a different animal. And the 76ers, they're no joke, okay? They have the best big guy in the NBA, maybe, MVP, possibly. Ben Simmons, Defensive Player of the Year. And also Embiid's, up there for Defensive Player of the Year too. Their defense has been phenomenal all year long, and that's what wins in the playoffs. We saw the Miami Heat last year. They D'd up, and they played awesome, and they played team ball, and that's exactly what the Sixers do. They have Doc Rivers now, and they're playing well. He's bringing that Boston Celtics type of mentality back to this team, and the Sixers are going to be dangerous. I think the Sixers really have a great shot this year.
8-ball, do you feel the same way? And how much of an impact did Doc Rivers make to this team? How much better are they with Doc than with Brett Brown?
I think obviously the addition of Doc Rivers has given them a championship mindset. He's been there before. They respect him, and it seems like they're playing better because of him. Tobias Harris played for Doc before. He's having a career year this year. I think he's averaging somewhere around 20 points per game. He's had a lot of clutch buckets this year. But as far as who the favorite is in the East, I think it's the Sixers. I agree with Matt. You have arguably the MVP. You have a championship defense. You have championship role players in Danny Green, Tobias with a career year. And you add in that the Nets, they don't play any defense. I think in the last 50 seasons or so, there's been one team to make the champion or win the championship that has outside of a top 10 defense. And I don't see Brooklyn flipping the switch in the playoffs here. You have Kyrie Irving, not known for defense. James Harden, not known for defense. Blake Griffin doesn't play any defense. Then you have Kevin Durant. He's probably their best defender, and he's coming off an Achilles injury. You add in their style of play in the playoffs, possessions get slowed down. So I don't know if they're going to be able to execute in the half court the way they have, during the regular season. I think the Sixers are in a position right now, and they should be the favorite to win it all in the East.
I just think we're 2 teams at the end, 8-ball.
At the end of the whole thing, I think it's the Clippers and the Sixers.
TCK, Matt, who do you like?
It's a tough one. I'm going to pick my Phoenix Suns, of course, but we're also going to pick from the East. We're going to go with my Philadelphia 76ers. I got to root my team on, man.
Mark, how do you feel about those predictions?
I love it. I mean, I can't wait for all 3 of these guys if they all come back together. It seems like when one's hurt, the other guy, one's hurt, the other 2 are back, and then when they get in the playoffs, they're not going to need continuity. They played about 3 games together, and I can't wait for those guys to start fighting over the ball. Harden's a terrible clutch player, as you've seen in the playoffs before. He's he'll put up numbers, and then he'll get to game 6, game 7, and have one of those 10 turnover games. Then Kyrie's going to start bitching about something, and that's why I think that Milwaukee actually scares me. Milwaukee scares me more than Brooklyn does, to be honest with you.
Mark's right about that part. When you look at the Brooklyn Nets and you look at their top 3 players, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, and Kevin Durant, you look at those players, and if you look over the years, they're one of the highest players in usage rate. And I think this is the first time that's ever happened where they've had top 3 of the top 5, I believe, or top 10. I believe it's top 5 usage rate players in the NBA on the same team. There's only one basketball. So Mark has a great point when it comes to that.
Yeah, I think
right now I think Phoenix is 14-1 to win it all. The Sixers are plus 750. If they do meet 8-ball, Sixers, Suns. I know you want the Clippers. Who do you think wins that matchup? And if the Sixers end up beating the Clippers, who wins that one in the championship?
If the Sixers play the Suns, I think the Sixers are the favorite. I don't really think they have the size, the Phoenix Suns, to contend with Embiid. So I definitely would put them the favorite there. Now, if they play the Clippers, I think that's a tough series. You have the two wings on the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Ibaka. I think that's a 7-game series right there. That's a toss-up that one. But I do think they're the favorite over the Suns if they make it.
Yeah, well, I think we lost the 8-Ball's camera, but we hear him great. We hear him fine. So, as Steve would say, the information's the most important. So that we hear the information, so the people are watching. It's all you need. He's going to, I guess, try to log back in. What about early? I mean, we're at the quarter pole of the baseball season. Hold on, let me get. Okay, he's back in. Okay, we're at the quarter pole of the baseball season. What are your, evaluations at the quarter pole?
Hey, Paul, who do you like so far in baseball? I mean, I think it's kind of wide open still. Usually the cream rises to the top towards the, right after the All-Star breaks, teams start gelling. But if you had to pick a couple teams, long shot, strong shot, who do you like?
Well, we gave out the Padres to win it all plus 900. I think by the end of the season, they will be the best team. You have Blake Snell, Joe Musgrove, Lamet, Paddock, Darvish. I think those guys are going to roundly perform by the end of the season. The hitting's, it's going to be there. The Dodgers are a great team, but you saw they lost Dustin May. I think the Padres are a hungrier team, so I think you'll see them at the end in the World Series. And if you go to the NL, the AL, there's a lot of, it's wide open. The Yankees haven't performed as well as people thought they would. The Twins, they're nowhere to be found. The White Sox are playing great baseball. So right now, I think it's wide open on that side.
How about you, TCK?
A team that
baseball or what?
Yeah, there's a team that might be a sleeper. Okay, to me, I look at the Mets, and right now they have a couple pitchers out. You have DeGrom, who's maybe the best pitcher in baseball. Syndergaard, who hasn't pitched yet, came back. Stroman, he's awesome. Carrasco, you haven't really seen him pitch. And you still have Tawan Walker, who's been serviceable. And if you look at this Mets team, they're the third best team in on-base percentage, but they're one of the worst teams in bringing in runs. So if they can start get going a little bit, start bringing in some runs, then this team might just be a sleeper, and watch out.
Well, the $350 million shortstop is hitting about 170 points higher than I am. So,
all right, guys, I think that we're going to be able to wrap it up tonight. We got part 2 of the show coming tomorrow. Gotham City Vig, Dave Mason from Bet Online. We'll give out a bunch of UFC picks. I want to thank everyone for coming on the show. Mark, you got anything else for everybody out there?
No, we got some gentleman. Broad Street Sports has been chiming in. Appreciate the hard work, fellas. Heading to watch the Sixers game. Have a great night. So I'm going to do that too. Hopefully we can clinch a division tonight. And Embiid's playing. I just got the alert. Embiid is playing tonight.
Good
76ers
stuff.
and Suns, baby.
There you have it. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks, Eddie Alvarez. Oh, let me get all of us back on. There we go. Thanks, Eddie Alvarez. Thanks, Dave Feldman. See the Philly Godfather, the college kids, the 8-Ball. Some great information, and we're gonna do this some more. We're gonna do some more. Try to win some people some money. How about that?
Awesome to me.
All right, guys. Thank you, and we'll talk soon.